Well, the men's NCAA volleyball season is in full swing, and we head out to Los Angeles to my guy, Bill Ferguson, the former head coach at USC, who was coaching a few boys this past weekend in qualifiers. And good weekend for you, and mixed bag for a lot of NCAA teams, huh, Bill?
Yeah, good for our team. Our 18's qualified. Our 15's got third, and our 14's got second. So we hit for the cycle, which was pretty cool.
Not bad, not bad. What'd you learn out of watching the NCAA men the first couple of weekends? I mean, I throw out to you that obviously UCLA had a fantastic East Coast swing, beat George Mason, then went over to Penn State and beat a couple of teams there, including Penn State and Ohio State. Long Beach climbed up, got everyone's attention. Your old team, USC, has yet to win a set this year. I mean, it's a little this, a little that.
Yeah, I don't know how much we learned, or I think it's more about, confirming what we're thinking going into it. I think if you look at that, I think the Penn State weekend with UCLA, I think that was, fairly predictable. I think Ohio State, in the Midwest is going to be on the upswing this year after, Loyola and Lewis being in charge. I think Loyola is still going to be pretty good. And, obviously the coaching change there was a big deal at Loyola with Shane Davis going to coach Northwestern and his assistant, Mark Holtz, taking over. So I don't know how much change that's going to be for the guys at Loyola. I mean, they still got their old staff there, and they still got some great players. I think the thing that's going to be interesting throughout the year is how BYU and UCLA progress. BYU has depth at every single position, and what I call functional depth. It's not just a good guy, but they have good guys that are proven in just about every position. And they had a new setter this week, Leo Durkin. New for those that haven't seen him. So they got two setters. Robbie Sutton set them most of last year and did a phenomenal job. And obviously the year prior to, Ben Patch came back. They have Tim Daubert. So they got two quality opposites. They got three middles that have all played and played well. And they've got, Brendan Sander and Jake Langlois on the outside, who are phenomenal athletes, huge arms, and then they got Kirill Meritev, who's a 6'8" guy from Bulgaria that can pass the ball and serve. And so I think, everybody voted them number one to begin with, and I think rightfully so. The interesting thing all year is going to be, can their depth help them? Does their depth help them or hurt them? I think it's going to help them. And can they receive serve at a high level? And then I think that would go into, how's UCLA going to be? John Sproul has always been a very, very aggressive coach serving. They are going to serve the daylights out of the ball. They're going to have a lot of risk-reward issues on the front end of the season. But I would be awful surprised if his group of arms are not humming, on clicking on all cylinders at the end of the year. He's got some guys that can alter a match from the service line, and that could be BYU's Achilles heel. So how BYU passes and how UCLA serves, I think, is going to be the big deal out in the MPSF this year.
Well, I mean, you're talking about BYU ranked number one and UCLA ranked number two, and it almost sounded like you were saying those are the two teams to beat all the way through. And, and you probably wouldn't get too much argument.
I think, I think that's safe. I mean, they've both been building, BYU and UCLA both been building these two teams that are going to be on the floor this year for the last couple of years. So it's been easy to see their progression. It's been easy to see how they track. They're both athletic as all get out, and where BYU has depth at every single position, UCLA has some cool components where, they've been running a 6'2" most of the fall in the preseason. So they got Hagen Smith and Micah Ma'a, who are both, I think Micah, you would think more traditionally would be a setter type hitter. He was probably the best setter in the country coming out of high school, and some could argue he was also one of the best outside hitters coming out of high school. And then I don't know if you don't know him, Hagen Smith is going to be a surprise. It's St. John Smith's son. He's not real tall. He's probably 6'1" in a pair of running shoes, but he's probably more competitive than his dad, and that is saying something. And he's one of those guys that it just makes a team go. He's a winner. And they've got him on the floor hitting 3 rotations some of the time. So, and UCLA's got some opposites on the bench that can do real well. They had Christian Hessenauer, who played most of last year as a freshman. They've got another tall kid that's 6'10", Oliver Martin, that can play middle or opposite. So, you're looking at both teams that are preseason ranked 1 and 2 with a ton of depth, a ton of experience. And, in men's volleyball, you got to have a great arm, and both teams have great arms all the way around.
When I asked you, I said, Bill, are you in tune with what's happened at the start of the season? Yes, that's quite a long-winded speech you had going there. That's good stuff.
Well, everybody was recruiting all of these kids for the last 3-4 years. So, it's still pretty fresh.
Nah, and I tease Bill, and of course you wouldn't hear it so much on this, but he teases me back. Trust me. Long Beach and Hawaii had really, really good starts. So did Irvine. Lewis did till playing at it, losing at Hawaii. But just any other teams you want to touch on before we get out of here?
Yeah, well, I think Long Beach and Irvine are probably going to be the next tier in the MPSF. Both have great volleyball athletes. Irvine's going to have some guys very similar to last year where, Niffen had 3 opposites playing on the pins, and 2 of them had to learn how to pass throughout the year. They did pretty darn well. And he's going to have kind of the same idea this year. So they're going to be very good, still have some proving to do. And the proving that Long Beach is going to have to do is they just have exceptional freshmen that haven't had a full MPSF season. TJ DeFalco, Josh Tuaniga. They also have a transfer from Cal Baptist that sat out last year, Amir, and that guy's going to affect things big time too. So that's going to be the next tier, in that conference. And then I think Lewis is going to have some work to do to rebuild. He lost, I think there was 5 fifth-year seniors on that floor for them last year. So Dan's got great guys, and it's going to take some time for them to come together. Ohio State's been kind of waiting in the weeds the last couple of years, rebuilding their group. And one of the wild cards in the Midwest might be Grand Canyon. They were built to be good this year by their previous coach, Jeremy Price. They made a coaching change. Matt Worley's coaching them now. It's his first go-around. So they got some senior depth, and they've got some arms on that team. So I'd kind of keep an eye out for Grand Canyon. And then the East, you get Penn State's going to kind of be the juggernaut. Pav sets the season up every year, plays tough matches early, kind of figures out where he's at, gets things going and makes tweaks, gets guys experience during the EIVA season, and they'll be good to go. I think what's interesting there is they're probably going to be about depth and distribution, and not so much relying on the arm of Russell. And then the Jay Hossack era has begun at George Mason, and I think that is going to make things very interesting. If you see the recruiting side of things, he's already made an impact. He's got 2 kids from Coastal Virginia, which is one of the top boys programs in that Virginia area, which Mason hasn't really done a great job of keeping those kids in state, and Jay has locked 2 of them up already. And then the other 2 recruits he's got locked up are from where? From Yorktown. So you got his Penn State influence going in there. So you see them, and then, you always got Harvard and Princeton are kind of that. Are they going to have that big match at the right time? Because they've got pieces to the puzzle. And so I think there's probably a little more depth. I think there's probably 2 right now in the UCLA and BYU, where I think they're going to be a little bit ahead of everybody. And then you got a whole lot of interesting stuff that's going to be able to catch up at the end of the year.
It's awesome analysis and way more than I bargained for. And I really appreciate it. We'll catch up again soon and do one of these again. Okay, Bill?
All right. Thanks, Lee.